Hey, what's up? It's Thomas here. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Today, we're going to check out some of my favorite tips for a very, very heavy tone. The tones that I'm using today is from the McRocklin suite by PolyChrome DSP. I'll leave a link down below so you can check it out. At the time that I'm shooting this video, the intro offer is still valid, so hopefully it will be for you. But a lot of things that I'm going to show you today will apply to other plugins and also real pedals and amps as well. Alright, so for my first tip, it has to be get that input sorted. If you have too much input going into your audio interface, like this, for example, I'll turn it up to 3/4. Oh, it's a handful, it's too much, and it has a massive knock-on effect. The overdrive pedals and gates, they don't work properly because it's just too much signal. So on the McRocklin suite here, when I'm playing, a lot of blues and a lot of greens, but when I strike hard, you can get it to peak into red, and that's the way I like to have it set, and that's the way a lot of the presets are sort of dialed in for. But bear in mind, I have a guitar with slightly heavier strings, and it actually has slightly more output. So with this guitar, I can send a little bit more signal into the software, where if I had my other guitar with 9 to 42 strings, it's a little bit harder. I have to bite down and strike a little bit harder. Alright, so presuming that your input is on point, a good way of getting some really nice articulation into your drive tone is to add some brightness to the front end. A lot of people, they just add treble and EQ, the sort of brightness in afterwards, but it has a really different sound and feel when you add the brightness at the front end. So with this particular patch, Modern D, you can see on the heat presser, I've got both the tightness switch and the brightness switch on. So if I turn both of them off, put them back on, it cuts through, and it's helping this guitar, which has, I think, gauge 11 strings. It could be a little bit sort of flabby and it's helping it cut through a little bit more, right? The next thing that I'm doing is I'm really leaning hard into the attacker. I'm using that for a lot of attack, and that's probably thinning out a good chunk of that low end flab as well. So if I turn that off, it's more like a classic rock sound, but again, with these strings tuned down to D standard, I prefer the sound of the attacker in there, and it's also brightening up a little bit as well. So stacking drives on top of each other, it's a really, really cool thing to do. High School Riffer. By the way, these are some of the newer presets, so I'm going to make these available on the Discord. So if you want to join me on Discord, come and join me over there, and these presets will be in the next update of the PolyChrome DSP McRocklin suite. So this preset is called High School Riffer. It's a little bit more saturated, and it feels a little bit more spongy, not quite as modern and tight as the previous patch that I was using, and that's because it's using a little bit of a classic Riffer orange colored drive type of sound, and that has a little bit more bob bass and fullness to the sound. So in this setup, you can see I'm not using the tightness or the bright switch. I'm just using this classic overdrive, the Riffer. But then I'm using the attacker to bring it into the future a little bit. It's also using wide, so that also just makes it pop out a little bit as well. So in this preset, it's called Midnight Boxer, and what I really like about it is it treats EQ in a slightly different way. A lot of people, when they go to their amp, they dial their amp to a way that's initially pleasing to them. But in this case, what I'm doing is I'm really scooping out a ton of mids, and I'm really cranking that treble quite aggressively. But then in the EQ, I'm kind of doing the opposite. I'm shaping it a little bit and pushing some more mids into the sound. And that's having a really interesting sort of characteristic fight with the frequencies. And I really like doing stuff like that as well. And you can see that we've introduced a little bit of air and some low cuts as well. So I'm pushing the bass, but then I'm kind of balancing that out with some low cuts. And if you're using reverb with these type of tones, you can hear that I've used the low cut here to remove a lot of the low end frequencies from the tails of that reverb. And I've also scooped out some of the mids and tamed the top end as well. So what that does is it kind of creates that space where when you're riffing, you don't really hear too much until you stop, but then it kind of fills out the spaces. It's a really cool approach. I really like doing stuff like that. And the space reverb has all of those controls built into it. So another thing that I would highly recommend you doing if you're playing riffs and it's a big part of the track, if you use delay on it, on your tone, well, you hear whilst I'm riffing and stuff, you don't really hear the delay, and that's because I'm using a good dose of ducking. If I didn't have the ducking on, it just clouds up the left and right image, right? It's a ping pong delay, so it's jumping around. I put some ducking on, just turn that up, and then straight away. You don't really hear the delay or even the reverb until I stop playing, but it's doing its thing. It's just gluing everything together. It's really cool. And finally, don't be afraid to mix up two different sounds. So what about I take Modern D, smash them over to the left, take High School Riffer, put them over to the right. I'm just going to turn the level down slightly overall and have a listen to that. All right, remember you can check out the PolyChrome DSP McRocklin suite at the intro price at polychromedsp.com. It's stacked with almost 400 presets covering everything from angelic, lovely cleans, right through to filthy, high-gain shred tones and everything between. If you want lessons, those are on schoolofmcrock.com where you can get a 14-day free trial. For now, you guys take care, and I'll see you back here real soon. Cheers.